Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hope elect of Israel. You Hebrews, West Indians and Haitians, and the foreign Israelites that look like the scattered across the four corners of the earth. I want to give all praises to Barak, Yahawah, Yahawashi, Barak, Yahawashi. Got to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles. The great millstone led me to this truth and been ordained by the Lord to teach the flock how to live, repent, fast, and show forth the Lord's righteousness and mercy, judgment, forgiveness, and wrath to all those who are part of the elect and to the hopeful elect. Lord willing to be part of that number. Lord willing to be edifying to those who fear in the name of the Lord and strive to show forth the Lord's righteousness every day to the best of their ability. Judgment always comes to light. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 5, and it's not slack. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 is unto a ring. 2 Peter chapter 5, verse 40. Shalom. Today, the Lord put the Spirit on me to deal with some topics concerning World War III. A lot of stuff going on in the news, kind of streaming mainstream right now. You know, they're talking about it a lot. So we'll deal with some other various end time topics. So we're going to start first with Russian military aircraft detected in U.S. air defense. And Iran has a intercontinental ballistic missile armed, this armed frigate. You know, it's like a ship. Okay, and it's out there on the coast. Okay, so this is some things that are picking up. We're going to go ahead and get started into this lesson. So Lord willing is edifying to the floor. Lord willing. Lord willing, we can, you know, make it through these times that are coming. You know, for Israel. You know, shalom to the whole elect out there, everybody who comes across the video, the water for tuning in, Yahawah, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash, Barak, Atham, and all the brothers pushing this truth across the four corners of the earth. So, let me get this pulled up. All right, Russian military aircraft detected in U.S. air zone. So let's see if we can play this 39-second clip and read a little bit. Up here. I'll pause it a little bit because the screen went off, but it said the presence of the Russian aircraft is a regular occurrence and is not considered a threat. So right now they don't think it's a threat. It's not clear exactly when or where the 4 Russian jets were spotted and tracked, and whether the number of such incidents was changed to raise war in Ukraine. So, you know, it wasn't a big deal at the now. It's, you know, I got all that going on. We ain't gonna deal with them. Anyways, we're gonna read a little bit about it. It says Russian military jets are tracked flying Alaska is monitored by the U.S. for national security purposes, because now, you know, right now, basically the war was basically a war with the U.S. and Russia. It's against Ukraine, but it's really against U.S. and Russia. You know, and going on, Iran makes waves with news of hypersonic missiles. The fact that they say this is a normal occurrence, then why are they monitoring it? You know, why would they monitor this? You know, why would they monitor it? They monitor it at a different time now. World War III is going to break out. So, like I said, we're gonna go over here. Iran makes waves with news like missile armed frigate. So they got this over there. And we know that Russia too. They got their intercontinental ballistic missiles getting ready. Those Iranian Navy officials have stated that the Navy's ship, the Mudge class Damavand, so you say that too, will come hypersonic missiles, variously reported as a destroyer or frigate. The news, if true, will provide a potent arsenal indeed for the Middle Eastern nation. This news comes only months after the nation showcase for Fatah hypersonic missiles. So they got their missiles now, and they've all been about destroying America, Babylon. And it kind of talks about how powerful the ship is, whatnot, you know. So they're war, they're about to be ready. And this is prophecy happening as we speak. The Lord's got these nations. He said in Joel chapter 3, verse 10, he said to beat your plowshares and the swords. They're putting all their money in their military. But we're gonna deal with Ezekiel. No. I'm gonna start at verse 4. No. It's Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4. Salakia. This is what's happening right now. They're both starting to get their thing and band together. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4, and it reads, "And I will turn thee back," which means he's basically going to bring Russia into that Soviet Union again, that Soviet Union spirit, that careless, destructive spirit. And they've been by a lot of stuff. And he's bringing them back into that mindset of like they don't care what's going to happen on the war. So now I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, talking about that military, intercontinental ballistic missiles, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So when you go into verse 5, it talks about Persia, which is Iran. Persia is modern day Iran. And they're all of these other nations that we're going to read about are all band together with Russia, and Russia is going to lead them in this charge. So verse 5, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them with shield and helmet. Verse 6, Gomer and all his bands in the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all the people with thee. So it's going to be a lot of smaller nations also as well that aren't even mentioned. There's going to be a lot of small nations that are not even mentioned that are going to also join with Russia. So verse 7, be thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. See, so that's talking about coming under Russia. But when you go, what's going to tie this together, when you go This is something that's been gradually escalating as we go. You know, the slowly day by day prophecy is being fulfilled. So we're gonna go to Revelations. Chapter 13, verse 2. Hold on, I spelled that wrong. Revelation 13, verse 2. So when you go look right here, it's a lock here. Starting to go a little slow. Okay. So Revelations chapter 13, verse 2. And we'll start at verse 1. We can start at verse 1. And I stood up upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and beside his heads the name was talking about America, Babylon the Great. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. And you see, that's how we know that Babylon the Great, because that's the one that's talking about with the 7 heads and the 10 horns. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, right? And the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him power and his seat and great authority. So when it talks about the statue, those are going to be the ones that take them out, the bear. Okay, and Russia is the bear. When you go look up that word bear, so when you look up that word, what it means.
Strong's G 715. Arctos.
Right? And it says a bear obstructing by I think that's how you say that. But this is what you want to look up. You want to look up the root word, the etymology of the. You want to look up the root word, the etymology of the word bear.
Strong's G 714.
Arcadeo means to be possessed of unfailing strength, to be strong, to suffice, to defend. See, Russia's going to defend the other nations, ward off, to be satisfied, to be contented, you know, ward off, to avail, be content, suffice, be sufficient. So that's what the other nations are going to do. They're going to come onto Russia and see that they can beat America, Babylon the Great if they all band together. But it's ultimately the Lord got them doing this. That's what's going on right now. They're both getting their military power ready, and Russia is, you know, taunting America back. We're flying, you know, we'll fly in your air zone and whatever, you know. But because back then it wasn't a big deal, but right now we're basically at war with Russia. You know, not us, Babylon the Great is. You know, so this land is in war with Russia right now. They just trying to. Ukraine is battling Russia, but Ukraine has all the weapons. So who's really fighting Russia? They just trying to make it seem like, oh, it's not us. But now we got soldiers. That's America, Babylon the Great does. So this is Isaiah chapter 3 reads, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, and the Medes dash Russia." And they're also in the Bible mentioned as Gog and Magog. So behold, I will stir up, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Why? Because they're getting their own gold and their own currencies together. You know, I did an article about a month ago talking about all the nations were gathering more gold. You know, so their bows shall also dash the young men into pieces. That's talking about the ballistic missiles, the fruit of the womb. You know, and their eyes shall not spare children. So they come to slay everything. When you look at Ezekiel chapter 9, you know, he had it was 6 men and they all had weapons in their hands, and they said, the Lord said not to go. the ones who are, the men who are marked, who cry inside about the abominations done in the midst thereof were sealed. Which is talking about the 144,000 elect. Lord, when we part of that number. So verse 19, in Babylon, the glory, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And that's, what did he do? It was destroyed by fire. It's the same way with this place, because this is places, when we talk about this is the excellencies of it. This is the place where they, they thrive the most. And they're going to be destroyed. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there. Shepherds make their fold there, and that's what it's talking about. There's not going to be nobody else in this land. It's about to be destroyed. And Lord willing, we're the ones who get out of here, for doing the work of the Lord. So here, and it says, China warns of multiple national disasters in July. Chapter 3, verse 6, it says that if there's evil in the city, hasn't the Lord not done it? So we know this is the Lord. Salaki, it's going real slow. See if I can get rid of some of this stuff and make it go faster. Okay, Salaki. Anyways, we know the Lord is plaguing the so-called Chinese, which is in the Bible, they're known as Moab, right? They're warning that there's about to be a multiple natural disaster. In months, there was one day that it was raining worms out there, and they didn't tell nobody about that. It wasn't really broadcasted like that. But there was people out there showing videos of it. We're going to go into 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 57. And it reads, thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish in the field. Okay, that's what's going to happen. They're going to die, of horrible families and pestilences. The Lord's going to jack them up. Amos chapter 2, verse 4 reads, thus saith the Lord. Go back one. Hold on. Yeah. Let's start at 1. That'll make more sense. Amos chapter 2, verse 1, it says, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of so-called Chinese, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he burned the bone Edom into lime. But I will send a fire upon it, shall devour the palaces of Kirioth, and Moab shall die with tumult and with shouting and with the sound of the, which is this warning. And I will cut off the judge from the midst thereof, and I will cut off the judge from the midst thereof, and I will slay all the princes thereof with him, saith the Lord. The reason why the Lord is cutting them off, like I said in 2nd Esdras, we're gonna go back, read verse 58. Hold on. That's right there. Where is it at? With me. Had it a minute ago. I don't know what. It's not. No, it's right over here. Damn, what is your screen messing up? Yeah, okay. 57 is supposed to be verse 47. Salaki. Just want to talk about how they was all gonna get cut off. This is a big reason why they're getting cut off, because they tried to be just like America. So it's loading up. Give me a sec. All right, so Slovakia. Whole thing started messing up. Let me go back. All right, like I said, second Esdras chapter 15, verse 47, and it reads, "Woe ye thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto earth." And you know that's how they are over there in China, just like America, Babylon the Great. And thou hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory thy lovers, is desired to commit whoredom with thee. That's talking about. We'll go back a verse. It says, "And thou Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, which is great, and thou art the glory of her person." You see, and then talks about how they always wanted to these abominations with America, Babylon the Great. You know, that's why they're going to be a big reason. There's going to be these judgments upon them as well. Verse 48: Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, Most High, you know it's Yahawah, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence. Waste thy houses with destruction and death. And that's what he's doing right now. That's why they're warning their people that there's going to be multiple disasters. See? Because they know the Lord coming. Like, you know, this is Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 11. I will execute judgments upon Moab, and they shall know that I am the Lord Yahawah. See, they know. They're going to know. Once the Lord executes that judgment, they're going to know why they got this kind of stuff happening to them. Because they know they're to be punished for what they've done to Israel. And the times we were under their captivity, and because they've also tried to be like America, Babylon the Great. So while that's going to grips the world as Japan readies to release the Fukushima radioactive water into the oceans. You remember we talked about how Esau Edom made the fire he made rain down from heaven, talking about those intercontinental them nukes. Okay, Fat Man and Little Boy. Well, they finna get that water and they finna release it into the ocean. Okay, and this is a big deal. You know what I mean? They're letting off nuclear water into the ocean. Okay, a big problem. But it's all part of prophecy. When you go to Revelations, chapter 8, 10, it reads, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven. That's as if it were burning. That's the nuclear destruction. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of the rivers. See? And the name of the star is called wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood and died other waters because they were made bitter. From what? The nuclear destruction. And they're already pouring, they're already contaminating the water. These are all punishments to J, to 2/3, and to the nations. But ultimately 2/3, because the Lord would fix the earth if all of Israel will come back. All going to come back. They're 2/3 of our people are gonna want to stay here. So this is Lamentations chapter 4, verse 9. Sorry. Man. Hold on, Salakia. Don't really spell that too many times. Always been the best. Oh, okay. Now I know what I did. Okay. Left out a letter. Salakia. So Lamentations chapter 4, verse 9. And it reads, they that be slain with the sword and with hunger, for these pine away stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. So even though all these other type of things and people getting killed by the sword, which we know the sword is Esau Edom, there's going to be more people that died, but it said my servants will eat in that time. So that's why we serving Yahawashi. and trusting that he takes care of them. We can't trust in ourselves. We can't make it on our own. You know, this is going to be a catastrophe. This is, you know, without spiritual power or spiritual guidance from Yahawah. Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 22, that dwell upon the earth shall perish with famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. We want to escape both of them, you know, Lord willing. So second Ezra chapter 15, verse 57, the one that I read earlier, says, thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. And that's just, you know, showing what's, you know, to all those people who don't believe in Yahawah, man, he's finna really mess up the earth. People in it. So right here, this says Senator Langford's Biden administration to protect the religious liberty of citizens. So, you know, we know us, we're not just because religion is man-made. We're an oath. This is our oath to Yahawah. You know, this is an oath to Yahawah that we made a long time ago. It wasn't made by Yahawah. So that's the difference between religion and what we're doing. You know, and people think that we made this up on our own or something. Like we don't have no power to do anything. We can barely pay, go to work for 2 weeks. We can't even keep where we live. You see what I'm saying? Most Jakes don't got nothing but time on them, you know? That's the average Jake. Ain't got no more but $500. So it's talking about they're not going to our religious liberty, right? Well, that's mainly to get the prophets off the streets. That's really what they really want to do. For everybody else, their doctrine ain't even really, it's not even effective. That's why they've been teaching it for 100-some years. Ain't nothing to change. You know, they're still in there talking about the Lord is love and all this, but it's just been straight hell. You know what I mean? We know they ain't talking about the word. But ever since the '60s, which Bibbins was one who the Lord rose up in the last days to start this teaching, you know, and then it went to One West and then went to Great Millstone, you know. We know this is the people the Lord's dealing with. So Amos chapter 8, verse 11, behold, the day of the Lord, and I will send a famine in the land, not of bread nor of thirst or of water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. So that's what's coming. That's what's coming. There's going to be a time where there's not going to be anybody teaching this word, what the Lord said they were going to be doing. And they shall wander from sea to sea, from the north even to the fro, to seek the word of the Lord Yahawah, and shall not find it, because they're going to be wanting to know what to do, because all this shit done went in everybody week in and week out, going to the highways and byways, putting most of our time in this, you know, doing all that, you know. Been doing all that, putting our time into this, and they just didn't want to listen. So verse 13, in that day shall the fair virgins and young men thirst of this word. Verse 14, and they that swear by the sin of Samaria and say, thy God, which is a false God, because it's a lowercase g, O Dan liveth, and the manner of Beersheba liveth, even they shall hear. See? All these fake doctrines, all these fake philosophies, and they're gonna realize that they're not real once ever they don't have been deceived to think that it's something that's really comforting them at that time. And that's the Lord, you know, he reads in right here, this is what the Lord's doing to him. I want to pull it up real quick. So before I get to the next article. So 2 chapter 2, verse 11. And it reads, and for the Most High shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. See, they believe that their gods are powerful right now. They believe that they're their own God. And the Lord's like, all right, you want to think that? I'm going to have you in a trick bag and have you really thinking that and going to be comfortable. They're not going to be comfortable in that day. Whenever he really takes the word, they're going to be like, damn, I was following the wrong shit. that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. Are you gonna have the truth, or you gonna? There's no in between. You can't be half truth and half unrighteous. You know, you're gonna be one of the two. You know, how I look at it, like if you're not listening, if you listen to somebody and they don't tell you they have the 100% truth, why would you want? You can't give half the truth. It's got to be all the truth, and that's what's coming with them taking away these so-called from the people. Because when it really comes down to it, we never really had rights. Okay, this is all for the will of Yahawah, Bahasham, Rawchaa. No freedom. You just think there is because the Lord has to deceive those people. So just like I was saying, right streams, this is what these Edomites are saying about their country. It says Georgia's Major Reed Taylor Greene warns that Americans must defend God-given right to defend themselves. So they trying to say it's a God-given to defend themselves, right? Well, the Lord says otherwise, okay? This is the right step, okay? This is what they got. Revelations chapter 13, verse 10. Since they themselves with weapons, right? Well, we're going to see what's their skin to get them. Revelation chapter 13, verse 10. And the captivity shall go into captivity. And he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. That's why they say in the movies and stuff, you live by the sword. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. They getting that from the scriptures. Here's the patience and the faith of this, what we're patiently waiting on. We're waiting on the Lord to get rid of them. And we're not focused on them and say don't worry about the multitude that perish. Salvation, which is doing this work. That's what's going to bring salvation, doing this work and your faith. Because that's all we really got. Nothing else here. Everything else, Esau Edom own that shit. But really, Bahasham does. But that was our punishment for disobeying. So, you know, like I said, it said, what man committed? Shoot, we gotta gird our loins up like men, and we gotta make it through this shit, Lord willing. You know, that spirit to endure. So Matthew chapter 26, verse 52. Then said Yahawashi unto him, "Put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword." Period. Period. There's no, our weapons are not carnal. We're not supposed to be taking up weapons and using none of that to survive. You know, now, you know, I look at it like, you know, the elders and the apostles, they say, you know, if you really want to have a weapon or something, you might need one, get one. You know, that's what they say. But when it comes down to it, I want to have enough faith in you. I want to, how about Shimon Shai? Well, I don't even mess with them, you know, and I don't even now. Like I've never had a weapon except like one time in my life, and I never, you know, after I got in a little trouble I did with the whole weed situation 5 years ago, I was like, man, well, I couldn't even carry a weapon at that time. So the Lord got it where I can't even mess with them anyways. I don't even know how to shoot one. So I'm just, you know, they tell you like you want to learn jujitsu or something like that, you know. So, you know, Esau Edom try to wrap your ass up, you can get out of it. But most of the time, we got all the intelligent in the universe. So it's like, you know, we have the most intelligent in the universe. So it's like, we should be smart enough to be able to talk our way out of majority of situations, you know. It says to be at peace with all men possible. So Genesis chapter 27, verse 37, it reads, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren I have given to him for servants, and with the corn sustain him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? Right? And Esau said, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me even also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, right? He got, you know, he gave over his birthright to Jacob, and then Jacob gained the rest of the blessing. He supplanted him, but this was all by the Lord, because it says in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 24, men's ways are going to the Lord. Man understand his own way. Shalom, shalom, shalom. How about Shimon Shabbat? But yeah, you know, how was You know, a man's can't do nothing on his own. It's the way of the Lord. Every man's ways are going. A man's going to the ways of the Lord. It also says it in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 1 as well. So, and Esau said unto one blessing, and he wept, right? So, right after that, and Isaac his father answered unto him, behold, the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And so, how was Isaac able to even say that if he wasn't the Most High? You know, if he wasn't somebody important. You see what I'm saying? And that's what it was. He got from the Lord to have dominion, to give people blessings, and that's how we know that's Yahawashi. You know, but a little bit more in a second. So behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew from heaven above. So how is it him all of that without being some type of power? You know, and thou shalt and by the sword thou shalt live and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke thy neck, right? Which means that they would take over. They would take over after a certain amount of time, after King Solomon ruled for 4 years, and then they took over, you know. And then the other time where the Lord had him chained up 1,000 years in the Caucasus Mountains in the caves. So verse 41, and Esau and Jacob, because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him, Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father I hand to Jacob. And this is a big reason why they got to pay for what they did. You see? So this is all just how it's gonna play out. So this is 2 Peter. This is 2 Peter chapter 2. 2 Peter. Second Peter chapter 2, verse 12. And it reads, but these as natural brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed speak of that they understand not. And that's how a lot of people are here. They speak of things that they don't understand, but it's mainly talking about Esau, even so-called white man. And shall utterly perish in their own corruption. And that's how most people is going to get dealt with, you know, because they despise the word of Yahawashi, and they want to take matters in their own hands. So now we're going to go over here. There's just a few things that's going on while all that's going on with the other nations getting ready. This is what they find. And these devils is in the White House doing cocaine. So Secret Service investigating suspected down in the White House. So they finding all types of drugs in there, and they over there getting fucked up with all this is going on. Okay. This is how we know this place is falling down, man. They over there just getting drugged up, and they trying to act like they some righteous seed or something. They're demons. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. And it reads, let no man deceive you by any means. That day shall not come except there be a false. And that's what happened. We came out of it. We fell out of the truth. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. This is how he's being revealed. The Lord is uncovering his hiding places. Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 10. He's uncovering them and showing his wickedness. Proverbs chapter 26, verse 25. And it reads, when he speaketh fair, believe him not. But there are 7 abominations in his heart, his completion, or perfection. So he's perfectly wicked. He's completely wicked. There's no saving for them. I saw his repentance with many tears, but he can't find it. So this is my last article I got. States suddenly short on cash. So basically, we'll read a little bit. For years, states like California had plenty of cash in the form of tax revenue, but now with declining populations, why is that? Because most people have went back to their own land because they're making better money over there. You see, the inflation over here is rising as well. So the states are struggling to adjust to new budget cuts. So we don't want to read too much of it, but you know how it says suddenly short. You know, it was sudden, right? So in the precepts, it talks about this. The second edge is going to be a sudden. It's going to be a sudden thing that happens when it really hits the fan. Like when shit really gets bad, it's going to be quick. Second edge, chapter 6, verse 22, and so sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Now they tell me the states ain't got enough money. Well, it's going to be a lot more than that. It's going to be a lot more coming up soon. So verse 22, and the trumpet shall give the sound. That's talking about us, the mouthpiece of Yahawashi, Yahawashi, from the elders and apostles on down to the followers like me, which when every man heareth, they shall suddenly be afraid. Why? Because it'll be at that time. They're gonna know it was from the Lord, because there's all these people out here telling this, speaking this truth. Shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. So the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So there ain't gonna be no more water left. Remaining from all these that I have told thee shall escape, and see my salvation and the end of your world. Who's that world? That world of Esau, even the so-called white man. It's going to be the end of his world. See? It's going to be the end of this one. And then the next one to come is Jacob. Verse 26, and the men that are see it and have not tasted, who have not tasted death from their birth, in the heart of the inhabitant, and turn into another meaning. See? Everything's going to flip. You know, the people who they said wasn't the people, which is so-called Negro, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians, are going to be put back in their rightful place. You know, and they're going to be put in their rightful place as servants. Verse 27: for evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. And that's what we're waiting on. Wait for Yahawashi to take these people out the way. Verse 28: as for which corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which has been so long without fruit, shall be declared. See, he's going to the ones who he chose at the end, and everybody's going to know. So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 52. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. See, and that's talking about, you know, also the ones who, you know, who died in this faith and died in this truth and died for Yahawashi, Yahawashi. They're going to be raised around immortal, and everybody else who's already here, we're going to be all changed and taken up into the clouds with Yahawashi, Yahawashi. You know, that's why I talk about the righteous will be scarcely be saved. It's going to be barely. We're going to barely get out of here. Look at verse 53. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. But if with the mind, you got to put on your mind. You got to make your mind with immortal thoughts. So when this corrupt put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass this is written: death is swallowed up in victory. You know, see, because death is the enemy to us. Death is our enemy, because that's what we fight to live. You know, but we want to live in the spirit, not in the flesh. So it says, verse death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? So there's not going to be no more death for Israel, but for the other nations, they'll still be subject to death. This is talking about salvation for Israel from death. So 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 40. I'm going to go back a little bit. Slovakia. Okay. And this reads, there are also some in bodies terrestrial. When you look up celestial, that's your godly body, your spiritual body. And then the body is terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial one, of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. So that shows that there's a difference. You know, you have a spiritual body and you have a physical body. And that's why when they try to say that Gabrielle asked for Mary to have a baby, that doesn't make sense because Gabriel was an angel. He was a celestial body, and that glory of the celestial is immortality. The glory of the terrestrial body is to be able to have sex and have kids, stuff like that. So you can't mix both of them together like that. It doesn't work like that. Angels don't think about sex. They're immortal, but the Lord is going to put us together to be both. We're going to be in our human bodies, but revived bodies and be immortal. Like that's the marriage. That's the marriage what we're preparing for. We want to have the right apparel on, but we'll get destroyed. So I want to go back and read a little bit of 1 Corinthians. We're just going to read it. I got one more precept, and I'm going to close out. So this is verse 1 of chapter 15. Where unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which ye also have received, and wherein ye stand. See, we received it. Think about it every day and stand occupied in it. By which also ye are saved. Not yet, though. We got to endure to the end. Ye keep in memory with what I preached unto you. That's the battle. Because a lot of people, they fall out of this. Unless ye have believed in, how do you believe in vain? If you don't remember, you stop remembering. Stop focusing on what the Lord told you to do. And start backtracking. Verse 3, for I delivered unto you first of all, which I also received, how that Hamashiach, the Paleo-Hebrew, which means anointed one, died for our sins according to the scriptures, and that he was buried, that he in the third day according to the scriptures, right? And that he was seen of Cephas, I think it's Cephas, and of the 12. After that, he was seen above 500 brethren at once, of whom the greater part remained unto this, but some are falling asleep. And falling asleep means like, you went back to the Most High, you went back to the spirit world. And when it talks those 3 days, it wasn't talking about 3 actual days. It's talking about spiritually in a sense, but he did come back. But when he came back at that time, and Cypher seen him, and then the 12, and then everybody else seen him. After that, he was seen of James, then all of the apostles, right? And all was seen of me also. See, so we had to be there too, because we seen him. But we wouldn't remember these words, and they'd be comforting to us if we wouldn't have been there listening to him as well, as one of the as of one born out of due time, right? And it says, for I am the least, and I am not meet to be called an apostle, because I am persecuted, because I persecuted the church, but by the grace of the Most High, I am what I am, and this grace which was bestowed upon me was not in vain, but I lived abundantly, and they all, yet not I, but the grace of Hamashiach was with me. Therefore, I or they, so we preach, and so you believe. Now, if Hamashiach be preached, that he will say some among you that there is no resurrection of the dead. See? So the people who say that they believe in Jesus, they try to say that he didn't die, or that he died and rose again, but they don't believe in reincarnation. It doesn't make any sense. He back from the dead, So that's basically the point I was trying to put out, But that's the whole situation that we're in right now. We're coming back to the understanding of Yahawah, So this is Colossians chapter 1, verse 16. And it reads, and this is just show that, you know, that he had to be Isaac and Adam and also Yahawashi, and also he was King Solomon, because those are all the ones who basically put all of us here, you know. Adam was the first, and that's gotta go back 1 second. Okay. So as I was saying, like, you know, how they say they believe in the Lord, they don't believe in reincarnation, but it doesn't make sense if he rose from the dead. But we're gonna read just before I read that Colossians. But if there be no resurrection of the dead, then a Mashiach, then is a Mashiach not risen. And if a Mashiach be not risen, then is our preaching in vain, and your faith is also vain. And when it was talking how, you know, he rose, he said he rose up again. Where did I just read that? Yeah, he rose again the third. He rose again back in that time. But when he talks about he gonna rebuild the spiritual temple in 3 days, that's talking about, you know, and that time is almost up. And that's what I want to say. So, anyways, risen, then our preaching in vain, and your faith also is also vain, right? It said on false witnesses of the Most High, because we have testified of the Most High that he raised up a Mashiach, and he is not up. If so be that the dead rise not. So that's what he's saying. How could you say you believe in the Most High and don't believe in reincarnation? Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi was risen back, and they went and seen him. He said it was 500 brothers at a time who went and seen him after he was risen back. You see, for if the dead, then is not Mashiach, or is not a Mashiach raised. And if a Mashiach be not raised, your faith is in vain. Ye are yet in your sins. Then they also which are fallen asleep in the Mashiach are perished, which is people talking about right now. Because it says that when you die, you go back to the person who made you, which is Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. So you're not really dead, you're asleep. Okay, until either you have to go back down here and serve judgment for whatever you did last time, or you know, you wake up in the kingdom. You know, so then they also which are falling asleep and the Mashiach are perished. If in this life only we have hope in the Mashiach, we are of all men most miserable. But now is the Mashiach risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. See, that's what we're hoping to be, the first fruits. Even the ones that die in this truth, we're hoping that they're the first fruits, the ones who fall for this truth. You know, because there ain't no telling put anybody of that number. We don't know until the end. For since by man came death, came also the resurrection of the dead. See, the resurrection of the dead. So when it talks about for since by man came death, well, who was the first man? See in verse 22, for as in Adam all died. So that's how we know, after we read Colossians, that's how you're going to know that so all die, even so a Mashiach shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, that one man can fit through at one time. In 2nd Ezra chapter 7. a Mashiach, the first fruits, which is 144, and then, which is the governing body, and then the ones that cling to the body, which is the honorable multitude, which is the number that can be numbered. Afterward, our Mashiach is that are Mashiachs at his coming. So we'll stop right there because Adam all died, right? So that's how we know when we read this that Yahawah, Bahasham, and Yahawashi. You know, Yahawashi was Adam. He also was Isaac, because Isaac wouldn't have been able to just be a mortal man and bless Esau, Edom with the earth to fulfill prophecy. That's why he did that. It was to fulfill prophecy. This is Colossians chapter 1, verse 16. And it reads, for by him were created that are in heaven that are in earth, visible and invisible. See, the Most High gave Yahawah Yahawashi, he gave Yahawashi the authority to be able to do everything on earth for his will. And that are in earth, visible and invisible. Whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him, even the wicked. You know, it even has a scripture about that. Verse 17, and he is before all things, and by him all consist. Just like it says in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 1, his incorruptible spirit is in all things. You know, that's the whole point about these Christians. They try to come off and say they love the Lord and they know the Lord so much. Well, if you say you love the Lord and he was resurrected from the dead, how don't you believe in reincarnation? That's reincarnation. You know, and if we're going to be joint heirs with him, that means we have to do what? We have to go through what he went through. We had to rise back from the dead at some point to come back here and do what he told us to do. What? Suffer for his cause. You know, so we can inherit the kingdom of the Most High. So Lord willing, this is the edification of Israel to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian Haitians, and the foreign Israelites that look like the other nations, scattered across the four corners of the earth. Want to give all praise to Barak, Yahawah, Barak, Yahawashi, Barak, Yahawah, Barak, Yahawashi. Got to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Qadash. Want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone. Let me to this truth been ordained by the Lord. Teach the flock how to live and fast and so forth. The Lord's righteousness and mercy, judgment, forgiveness, and wrath to all those who are probably elected to the hopeful elect. Lord willing is the edifying of those who fear the name of the Lord and the striving and so forth. The Lord's righteousness every day to the best of their abilities. The judgment always comes to light. Zephaniah 3 verse 5 and is not slack. 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 9 is unto a ring. 2 Peter chapter 5 verse 42. Water for tuning in. Wild Baba Ball. Shalom, everybody out there. And Lord willing, this is edifying to the flock. Lord willing, we'll be able to do another lesson tomorrow. We make it there. So, shalom.